Namaste, viewers, and welcome to Amazing Vedas with Dr. Parikshit Singh. Thank you, Dr. Singh, for joining us, that too on a Sunday afternoon. You know, in our last episode, you just mentioned that word, the Aryan. And for a moment, I was a bit, should I say I wanted to raise a red flag because that word is so misunderstood in our times. And, just yesterday, I was, scrolling through some stuff or watching things sometimes on the television. And the image, of an Aryan today is of a neo-Nazi, white supremacist, with tattoos all over and, who's beating up other people of color, such as ourselves, perhaps associated
Yes.
with the Ku Klux Klan. So the word Aryan has got terribly, terribly misunderstood, distorted. And there's a whole history,
Yes.
about this word, the Nazis and so forth. But we'll step aside from the history, especially the horrible history of the Nazis and the Holocaust for a moment. But the word Arya, you know, you must please tell us what it means. And it's also a section in your book. But I just wanted to say, even the word Iran, today, Iran is very much in the news. Iran comes from the word Arya. So Iran is
Yes.
the Aryans were is what the word Iran means. And then if you go to the south, the Brahmins of Tamil Nadu are called Ayyars. So that Ayyar comes from Arya. Aryar becomes Ayyar, and Iyengar also comes from that. Anyhow, so here was a word which was lost,
Yes.
I think, or completely distorted. So please, if you can tell us what this word means, and let's go back to Vedas for
Yes.
Gen Z, where you have a section on this.
So I just read recently that the word Ireland also comes from the same
Oh,
root
of
as
course.
Aryan. Yes.
Ireland. Oh,
Yes.
absolutely. Yes.
So let me read this. Thank you for sending it to me. Makanji is sending my own book to me so that I can read up. So please, that's why I'm reading it from the phone. A word that was lost. There are certain words that lose their meaning over time, not because they are unimportant, but because they are misunderstood, misused, or reduced to something smaller than what they originally meant. Aryan is one of those words. Today it often carries historical, political, or cultural baggage, but in the Vedic context the meaning is very different. Aryan does not refer to race, it does not refer to status, it does not refer to identity in the way we usually think of identity. Aryan refers to a quality of being, a way of living, a way of relating to the world. It is less like a label and more like a direction, not something you claim, but something you grow into. This matters because we live in a time when identity is often treated like a final answer. Aryan points to something more dynamic, the kind of person you are becoming through the way you live.
Yes, yes. So viewers, especially younger viewers, this is very important because, when words get distorted, contaminated, and get associated with terrible, very evil things, there is a temptation to cancel those words. Like,
Yes.
look at what has happened to the swastika,
Yes.
especially in the West. They consider it a symbol of the Nazis. Though let us remember that the Nazi distortion of the swastika, it looks different, it was called something else, and it was actually a kind of cross, as you know. We may
Yes.
do another episode on that. But, right up to Japan, from India to Japan, swastika has not been abandoned because swasti again means well being, good health, that which is auspicious. And so when words get contaminated, that doesn't mean we should abandon them, but we should reclaim them. So if you ever see a neo Nazi who wants to call themselves an Aryan, you can easily tell them, hey, dude, that's not what the word means, okay? And if you want to really be an Aryan, give up your race supremacism or your hatred or whatever it is that you think it is, your sense of superiority, but be a true Aryan, which is embrace the path of light. Be, if you're strong, then you should protect the weak. And if you're weak, then try and make yourself strong. I mean, to me, Captain America is a very typical example, of a small Jewish boy who was very wimpy, and suddenly he gets like a superpower and becomes Captain America. So we are all that little Jewish person within ourselves, the persecuted, the wimpy, whoever you want to call it, at least from that modern myth. And then we become the warriors of light against the Nazis in that particular context. I'm talking about Marvel Comics. I hope you know that the comics, in fact, American comics are very, interesting because they're like the retelling of ancient mythology for modern times. So once again, Dr. Singh, I come back to you to give us your concluding thoughts on this word, the Arya, which gives us the word Aryan. And, in India, that word has not been abandoned. We have Arya Samaj of the great Swami Dayananda Saraswati, which created a kind of revolution in northern India for sure, but all
Yes.
over India, because he gave us actually the path to Swaraj and Swarajya, by in a way reclaiming our deepest selves. So, and right down in the south, you see, it still has very positive connotations all over, and and therefore it's very important for people in the West to recognize that it does not mean, some sort of fanatical white supremacist, Ku Klux Klan, neo-Nazi type of person. So please, Dr. Singh, I turn it back to you to give us your thoughts on this.
So, as you have correctly pointed out, it's a word that describes a refined human being, a human being who's growing, who's working on himself, digging into himself, purifying himself, cleansing himself, becoming ennobled, becoming someone who's worthy of the gods, of the devas, who cosmic powers can come into him. And the word has the significance is so important that when Sri Krishna wishes to stop Arjuna, he only has to, this is almost an insult between two warriors to have one warrior call the other warrior Anarya. How could you be an Anarya? And right away, that has an impact. It stings Arjuna. And of course, then the dialogue starts, and it really, Sri Krishna brings it back several times during their whole dialogue. You can imagine how important it is for a warrior to be called an Arya, and to be called an Anarya would be almost an insult. If today I can't think of comparative insults, maybe I shouldn't mention those, but it's pretty important. Uh, so for him to have brought that out, it must have had a significant meaning in that society and culture. If we understand the meaning, we don't have to get stuck to the word, because obviously the word is not important, but the root takes us to a sense where sound of every unit, the units of sound were very important to the rishis. Every sound has a significance. Ah has a certain significance. The r sound is a movement of vibration, which is very close to the word rishi and Rig Veda, the movement towards the truth, r, and then arya. Ya is control. And so we see that it is an important word, especially if you learn Sanskrit, and we should perhaps try to retain it with an improved understanding. So that's all we have to say. I think the famous book A Hero with 1,000 Faces, written by Joseph Campbell, talks about the same spirit. Remember, the Veda is our first literature that we have, that we can read, that we can pronounce, that we can share with each other, we can chant. And the first hero is actually coming from the Veda, although the Epic of Gilgamesh also is a heroic journey, which may have been older than the Veda, though I humbly disagree with that, but be that as it may. So the journey of the hero, the Marvel comics that you pointed out, is the same human aspiration to be above, to rise above the limitations of the human or the person, and to reach something higher, a greater power, and to use that greater power for the good of humanity. So with that, I shall take your leave, and I hope to see you soon. But the book again is Veda for Gen Z, where I have tried to bring these concepts out so that our youngsters may understand what the history of the word has been. And it's a fascinating history. It was a word that Hitler tried to subsume and to try to take advantage of. Of course, he failed, and thank God to the great Aryans who fought him. The people who fought him, the warriors of light, those were the true Aryans.
So, you know, the word is still current even in the West without those negative connotations. And, you know, when you open a restaurant with the name Arya Bhavan, one of the things you're saying is, come, you know,
Yes,
ano bhadra,
yes,
etavu
yes,
yantu sarvata, you know. So
yes,
it
yes,
has that sound. So I want to take you back to the sound, and then
yes,
we can conclude this episode on the real meaning of the word Arya and how we need to reclaim it rather
yes.
than surrendering it to the fanatics or to the racists or to the neo Nazis or whoever we want to call them.
Yeah, so in Sanskrit, at least in Vedic, the sound was very important. Each unit has a certain feeling. They call it the guna, the quality of each sound. It has a psychological impact. So, for example, when I say sound coming from deeper within, and compare that to ah, so now you're widening it. Or when you say e, you say e, the sound is almost going through into your hard palate, through your hard palate into the brain. Or when you say ooh, it is coming out. So is an invitation, as we see in the second suktam of the Rig Veda, vaya vaya ahi. So it's the ah sound is also an expansive sound. It's a sound of invitation. It's a sound of joy, because when ananda is the word that gives you joy. So has a very beautiful connotation. R sound, whenever it comes, and even in English, vibration, the R sound vibrates. Rishi, Rig Veda, R sound. So whenever there's a movement towards the truth, we use the R sound to give us a vibratory sense. And R comes in Sanskrit in two flavors, if I may use the word. There's the vowel ri, which is just, you don't even touch the tongue anywhere, and then there is the re sound. Again, that is a sound of vibration. And then ya is a sound in Sanskrit that is used for control, for mastery. Yama, mastery. Yajna, to control. So it is, the sound of this word is beautiful, and I'm happy when you said that it was reclaimed. And I just wanted to, one more thing, is the Marvel Comics. This is an attempt to describe the Aryans, the hero with 1,000 faces, as Joseph Campbell wrote, the first hero as described in the Veda, or among the first heroes, if we discount the Epic of Gilgamesh, whichever was earlier. But here, the heroes are there in the Veda, the warriors of light, and this is a human aspiration to become so strong, to get universal powers through, come to us, and we are able to invoke them, we are able to be in their midst. So you will see the same aspiration in the Marvel comics, the hero with 1,000 faces. And one more thing I said, the people who fought Hitler and beat him and defeated him were the true Aryans, because they
Wow, that is
represented the
great.
truth. He was
That is
not an Aryan, right?
that is
So
yeah.
the
Thank you,
British,
thank you.
the Americans, the Indians who went there, the Australians, so many people, they gave their lives, they bled, and they brought back freedom, liberty, equality back to earth, back to humanity. They were the true Aryans. And if we understand that, then we realize that the word actually was reclaimed in World War II, and we should be free to use it as long as we understand the connotations and what it went through, and how today we can all again aspire to be heroes. We don't have to be extraordinary in just showing off. We can be extraordinary doing ordinary things, and that's the beauty of the Veda. How do you do ordinary things in the most extraordinary manner? Yeah.
Very well said. In fact, let's not forget that Sri Aurobindo, though the British were very unpopular in India, supported the Allies against the Nazis because he said that if the Nazis had won and the fascists had won, the forces of darkness would have overrun the earth and humanity would have been set back
Yes.
several millennia on its evolutionary path. And the other wonderful thing you said is that the path of the Arya is not just for superheroes, it's for all of us. It's an
Yes.
invitation to
Yes.
all of us, you
Yes.
see. And that's where it differs a bit from the Marvel comics because you have the League of Superheroes and there are these very few people, but this is a path open to all of us. And speaking of Ari and Arya, the Arya is one who overcomes the Ari or the enemies of light, the Panis, the Vritras, and the
Yes.
Valas, and all these other people. So Arya, and again, in Hindi, we say Aiye, please come, Aiye, Padhariye. So
So
we want to.
Sri Aurobindo's name, Ara is light.
Is light.
Aravinda. So
Aravinda.
Govinda,
Yeah.
Aravinda is the one moving towards the light. So I think it's an appropriate acceptance and reclaiming this word that is important.
Absolutely. And so we want to invite everyone in this world, especially Gen Z, please join us on this path. As I said earlier, the sunlit path, the path towards the light. And let's become all of us warriors fighting for the light. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Thank you, viewers. And please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, Amazing Vedas is offered to all of you. Thank you.